Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to try not to waste too much of your time, and I'm going to go through this presentation quite quickly as well. But please just lend me your ears for a couple of minutes, and let's see if we can maybe get something, in the future for you as well. I just want to quickly start off by first saying that I'm not a motivational speaker. I think that was done this morning, and it was an amazing job. Is there anybody in the room that is not motivated at this stage? Please raise your hands for us. Otherwise, I'll have to put on my jacket again and motivate you. All right, and that's going to take us until about 4 o'clock this afternoon. All right, so I want to start off by quickly telling you guys the story behind franchising your success and where we come from, as the Franchise Co. So me, myself, I'm actually well known with my friends and colleagues as well that I'm a go-getter type of guy, okay? I'm a guy that goes straight to the point. I'm a guy that don't take no for an answer. I'm a guy that's innovative, and I always think out of the box. And I think, that's quite important. I'm also a person that leads by example, and I also always believe that if you don't actually make people believe around you what you believe in, then you're not going to get, to the point that you want to be in a few years or within a generation or within your company, whatever the case might be. So lead by examples and others will tend to follow. That is what I do believe in. I also believe in don't outsource your leadership, like previous speakers also said here today. All right. So you have to do everything yourself. And that's a very important aspect as well by being a true leader, is that you need to do a lot of things yourself because you can't just leave everything for somebody else to do on your behalf. So leadership can't be outsourced in any way. But you can outsource, normal duties. But always, also appoint people around you that you can trust, that also shares the same values as yourself, that shares the same values of your company, the same values that you stand for. Then you can start outsourcing some of your ideas, okay? Because the one thing about leadership as well, and the one thing about good success, is not always to share all of your ideas in front of people. Keep some of the things close to your heart as well. And then when the time is right, then those things can be implemented and you can build on them, okay? So the other thing that I also believe in is to be a servant type of leader. Don't be the boss. I mean, there's nothing to be the boss out there, to have a title of a CEO or to have the title of a boss man at the end of the day. Because that will just, will tear you apart at the end of the day. And respect is earned. It's something you have to earn. It's something that people must see in you and they must follow you for that, okay? The last thing I want to say to you guys as well on this aspect is knowledge. You have to have intensive knowledge. And I'm not saying you have to be matriculated, go to university, and study a lot of things at the end of the day to become a leader or a successful businessman. Me, myself, I'm only matriculated. I don't have any degree. I actually, after matric, I went to UNISA, and I decided I wanted to, maybe study law. And I was there and I got my books and everything. And after a while, I checked the books in my study, and I said to myself, it's going to take me 4 years to get a degree before I can physically go and do a job and earn money for that job. And I just decided on that very day, you know what? In 4 years' time, I'm losing a shitload of money, so I'm not going to do it. Okay. So then I decided I'm going to do my own thing, and I went into the financial industry. I started off working, with a company called Metropolitan. We all know Metropolitan. And I became a should-you-die policy SMOS. Okay. So I walked around in, schools, in the government sections and everything, and I actually, drove around in my car, and there was always track suits at the back of my car, okay? Knockoffs, obviously, okay? So whenever I sold a policy, I told them, listen, I'll throw in a track suit for you just for today, okay? But then you need to take the policy, all right? So that is the type of, where I went into before I actually decided, but listen, there's so much things bigger than just the normal industry that we tend to work in, okay? I always tell my wife as well, and she hates me for that, that, you get type of people that works in a job scenario. You are in a job, okay? And I always tell her that, listen, if you're working in a job, and nothing against that, you're almost like a sheep. Okay, you're a follower. Okay, so you have a master that looks after you, all right? And every day you go towards where you have to go, you eat, you produce, and you eat and you produce, you eat and you produce until the day you die. Okay, and that's something I'm not. Okay, I always told her, listen, I'm the flock leader, and then she told me, okay, but what happens, if something happens to one of those sheep and it doesn't work out for you as an employer or an employee, then I tell her always, jy slag hom net daar. All right. Why? Because immediately that's profit. Okay, and we get somebody else that can do the job. Okay, so that is how I built my success planning and what I wanted to do with the Franchise Co. So many years ago, me and my brother started off the company on the side, and we decided, listen, we wanted to get into the franchising industry. We applied for finance, and the finance was declined. And then we decided, okay, but then we have to raise the capital ourselves. All right. At that very stage, we decided that both of us was in the financial industry, so we approached a couple of our own private clients, okay? We had a business plan, like a previous speaker also said, and we approached that clients, and we said to them, listen, we need financing, and obviously we're going to pay you an interest on top of the money that you borrow. Okay, so that was very successful, and at the end of the day, we actually bought up our first franchise. Okay, starting off with that. Then we'd seen, there's actual an opportunity, and there's something in the market that can actually, build something for us, and it can break something open for us in order to build a portfolio of franchises. But before we did that, we decided, okay, let's do this baby steps, step for step for step. And then we started off the Franchise Co. by being management specialists. Okay, so what we physically did is we said we'll manage a franchise on the franchisee's behalf. All right, against a management fee. So many times somebody wants to buy a franchise because it's maybe his retirement capital or some money he won somewhere, or it's a loan he takes, a second bond, or whatever the case might be. He wants to be a businessman. He puts that money into a franchise only to find out, I don't want to do the hours. I don't want to do the opening. I don't want to, have employee hassles also, type of things as well. So then you can outsource that. And that is where we came into the marketplaces to say that we're willing to manage that franchise on your behalf. And then we give you a return for that, and we take a management fee on top of it. Okay. So we worked in that basis for about 5 years, only to find out to ourselves, okay, we're actually managing about 50 franchises plus at this stage. But none of those franchises belongs to the Franchise Co. So we're not building any assets for the company. Then we decided, but there must be a way that we can also, build up a portfolio of our own. And then we went back to our roots to say, but this can work. We can get investors and we can buy a portfolio of franchises. We can manage them ourselves, and obviously that becomes our asset base as well. So we're building an asset by the experience that we already picked up. Okay. So what did we pick up in the markets? We actually picked up in the markets that there's multiple brands out there. Okay, so there's not one brand, there's multiple brands. So why do you want to focus on one brand? You can focus on multiple brands. As soon as you focus on multiple brands, you actually get a lot of knowledge about how a different franchisor operates here, how a franchisee operates there, and then you make it your own. Okay, because what is franchising? Franchising is already a business concept. It's already something that works. It's already there. It's been there. Okay, that is also why financial institutions is also very fond in financing franchises, because of the reason it's a business plan that already works. It's a system that's there. It's a supporting base that's already in existence. So what did the Franchise Co. do? So we took all the recipes from everybody and then we made it our own. Because that's one good lesson all of you guys also need to learn today. You need to follow principles each and every day. You get nature principles. You get business principles. You get spiritual principles. The spiritual principles, you can't change that. Nature principles, you can't change that. I mean, gravity is gravity. If I'm going to jump over here, I'm not going to stay up here. I'm going to fall my butt off. That's it. I can't change that. Okay. But the one thing I can change is business principles. Okay. Because you can follow a recipe up to a place where you get maybe to this space over here. And then there's nothing more there. Okay. And you're also only going to get to this place over here of the previous guy that wrote that recipe. Then you need to make it your own to take the next get in the next steps. Okay. So you have to take recipes and you have to make it your own. All right. Many speakers here said, surround yourself with positive people, surround yourself with winners. I do agree with them. But I also, I also have my own thing where I say, I also do surround myself with failure plans. Okay. Plans that failed in the past. That's very important. Okay. Because a plan that failed in the past just needs a little bit of spice, just needs a little bit of this and that. And then at the end of the day, you can make it your own and it can work. Okay. Because it was an initial plan. So if you can work on failures of the past, of people that made the mistakes, learn from it, and then you can perfect it and you can make it your own. All right. People, I just want to quickly have a chat with you in regards to the franchising industry in South Africa. I think there's a lot of people that's sitting in this conference that doesn't really know the big giant that we're facing with the franchising industry. Just to give you an idea, back in 2008, the turnover in the franchising industry was around 256 billion. Okay? And but last year, the turnover was about 493 billion. Literally doubled up in a question of not 10 years, okay, but in that short space. The industry literally doubled up. If you have a look at some key players in the industry, which is the biggest one is Spur Corporation, Famous Brands, and then Taste Holdings. Just to give you an idea, last year the turnovers for Spur Corporation was 6.2 billion. I think that's going to drop dramatically, for the next year. Okay. Famous Brands might take them over, or they might, make a little bit more than them at this stage. They're on 4.3 billion, and Taste Holdings is in a round of 1.1 billion. So that is the type of, turnovers that these companies are generating as groups. Okay. The South African GDP, we all know what the GDP is. The mining industry last year contributed about 8.6% to the country's GDP. Is there anybody in the room that can tell me how much do they think the franchising industry contributed to the GDP last year? Is there anybody? 12.5%. 12.5% was the contribution of the, towards the GDP from the franchising industry. This industry is bigger than the mining industry. Just to give you guys an idea. Why is that? Because what are you going to do after this, this convention? You're going to spend money somewhere, okay? Where are you going to spend it? It's either going to be in a KFC, for instance. It can be a Steers. It can be a Spar. It can be a Sasol. It can be a Total. You're spending money, all right? So our hard-earning money that we actually earn on a monthly basis gets spent in this industry, in this very industry. So that just shows you the size of this industry as well. Last year, the net growth of in the category-wise, number one was retailing, obviously, and then just behind the retailing was fast food and restaurants, with a growing point of about 456 stores that open up as a new stores operating within the franchising industry. So, on average, we're having about 400 stores that's opening up on an annual basis. Okay. So that is the investment opportunities that is available, towards an SME, for instance, or towards a normal investor, or towards, anybody that's interested in getting into the industry. Okay. Percentage gross profit over the last financial year has dropped dramatically. That is reason to a lot of things. It can be towards the economy and a lot of other aspects as well. In 2015, the average gross profit was about 22%, and it dropped towards about 14% last year. Okay. Those aren't good figures to talk about, okay? But what do we do as the franchise code, compared to a normal franchisor-franchisee relationship, okay? Because the one thing, if economy is doing bad, the franchisor is actually supposed, to stand in towards his franchisee and say, listen, I'm willing to drop royalties even, okay, just to pick up your gross profits at the end of the day, all right? And you're not doing that, and they're not doing that. And that's a little bit of something, that I'm going to touch, on a later stage within this presentation. Time in business. A normal franchise is in a region of 4 out of 5 franchises is in business more than 6 years. Okay, that's a great stat. If you have a look, if I have to start off a new company, obviously there's a lot of, aspects that plays a role. There's a lot of risk. There's a lot of startup capital. There's a lot of things that goes into it. But to invest into something that I know has got a 4 out of 5 chance, to survive for the next 6 years, that's something to think about as well. Okay. And then the other thing I want to tell you is initial working capital that a normal franchisee needs when he starts up. That's without, putting up the stores in a region of about 740,000. And the other one, a shocking statistic, is to say that the ownership of businesses in the franchising industry is 82% white-owned. Okay, that's terrible. Okay, not about this or that, but that is a terrible statistic. Okay, so somebody needs to do something about that as well. Normal franchisors can look at it, and there needs to be transformation in this sector as well. We have a South African unemployment rate last year of about 26%, which is devastating. But this industry is actually the number one industry when it comes to job creation. Okay, if you have a look at the scale that it's contributing towards the GDP, and of course what it can still do for the next financial year as well, and the year after that, and the year after that. Number of full-time and part-time employees within a franchise, within a normal takeaway franchise of between 80 and 150 squares, is between 10 and 15. Okay, full-time employees that you employ when you open up a new franchise. Employment within the main business sectors, Retailing is the highest, that employs the most, but literally 5%, from retailing, the most employed is with restaurants and takeaways. Again, shows you how big is the restauranting and takeaway industry. It's almost bigger than the retailing industry. Percentage owners were previously disadvantaged individuals. It was in 2006, 52%, and it declined to 2016 to about 18%. Also not a good statistic. Okay, but again, we're going to tell you the franchise code, what we're going to do about that. Ownership by women in franchise sector, also shocking at about 26%. And again, the franchise code will tell you now what we're going to do about that. Upfront franchising fees. This is also something that I want to stop at, because if you're going to buy a franchise, there's a lot of cost that goes into it. Okay, a normal franchise will cost you about 10,000 Rand a square, and then it's a turnkey operation, excluding your joining fees. Normal joining fees in the region of about 250,000, and that's also excluding, a normal type of, that you're also going to have to your operational capital. So if you're going to buy a franchise of about 100 squares, a takeaway franchise, they're going to tell you, listen, you're going to pay about 1.1 million, but in actual fact, it's closer to about 2 million. Okay, so underfinancing also, can hit you hard within the franchising industry as well. Royalties and marketing fees, we all know about that. Normal average royalties on a takeaway in restauranting sector is in the region of about 4 to 6%, with marketing at about 2%. The franchise code is also going to tell you what we're going to do about that factor as well, because where does real, marketing fees go into? Does it really go into the brand, or does it go into the franchisor? Main challenges facing the normal franchisee. Let's stop there. I mean, the main challenge that any franchisee is facing is to get the proper staff, to get staff trained, to get financing, to get the right spot, and of course, to stay in business for at least another 5 years. Those are the main things that any franchisee faces, and the most difficulties that he might, also have. But that is where the franchise code also comes in the past. We take out that entire equation of the things that worries a franchisee most. Okay, because that's what we do. All right. So we appoint staff, we train staff, we get the financing, we get the spots, we get the brands. So we get everything for the franchisee, so that the franchisee can focus on one thing, and that is sales. Okay, sales, 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 sales. All right, turnovers and profits. That's the only thing the franchisee needs to worry about. So ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to actually introduce to you the portion I want to get to. So I actually showed you now what the franchising industry in South Africa looks like, what is the main concerns about, the franchising industry, the contribution towards the GDP, what it does, and more or less in a nutshell, what the franchise co is also doing for the guys out there as well. All right, so if we can take it to, revealing our product. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present to you our new product. So yes, if we can start with our Yami product, there's a lot of homework that went into this. Okay, if you pronounce Yami, okay, and the slogan on it is deliciously different. Okay, but it's also nice on the tongue to pronounce Yami, because it almost comes out as yummy. Okay, and I think everybody in this room today, because what we're actually approaching is to give a close competitorship, to the normal family restaurants that we have in South Africa. Normal pizza family restaurant, but we're changing the whole aspect about this. Okay, so what we are doing is we're going to change, to make the kids more interactive in the brand as well, is to say that we will have build your own pizza. That's been done. But we're going to do build your own pasta as well. Okay. We also have specials that we're going to run just for interest's sake that we call No Phone Fridays. So you're actually going to hand in your phone when you get to the door, or you can lock up your phone in a little cubicle. And we're going to have board games on the tables. I mean, so we're going to interact with our kids. I think that's so important. But the real aspect for us at the end of the day is to say that the kids is going to say to you in the evening, where do you want to go for dinner tonight? I want to go to Yummy Pizza. Okay. And that's the goal that we're going for. Hustle is the more upmarket type of product that we're looking at, and that is going to be direct competition, with the rib and burger industry. And what we've done there is we changed it to craft. I think everybody that's sitting here knows craft is big in South Africa. It's growing into a brand. Okay, so we're actually the first company at this stage as a franchisor company that's going to actually franchise craft. Okay, so that's where we're going with that. All right. So, but what are we going to do as a normal franchisor type of thing? I just shared with you guys what's the main challenges for normal franchisee towards his franchisor. Costs, everything. So if you have a look at what we're going to, what charge, what to open up a store, and how we're going to support our franchisees, and of course, after sales, etc. So all those little boring aspects. Okay. But number one, okay, if you're going to buy a franchise, there's a joining fee. On these two brands, 0 joining fee. Okay, that's immediately 250,000 on average that you can, put towards, operational capital. Okay, we do not want to reach ourselves before we actually even render a service. Okay, so 0 joining fees on our brands. Royalties is taken on turnover, people. It's not taken on your profits. So whatever you make, you need to, pay a percentage of royalties. We are charging only but 2% royalties on the turnovers, where on average they charge you between 4 and 6%. Makes a massive difference. Okay. Marketing, normally they charge 2.5%. These brands will charge 0. Okay. Because why do we do that? Because we are a marketing company. We will market the brand on the behalf of the franchisee. Okay. So that is the key aspects that our brands puts out there that the other guys won't have. And then the other nice thing that we also did is to stipulate if there's any franchisee that doesn't want to get involved with the day-to-day activities and he just wants to buy the franchise and let the franchise go manage it, then there is 0 royalties available. Okay, so you can physically buy yourself 2 or 3 stores. It gets managed by the franchise co. You don't pay royalties. You don't pay advertising fees. You don't pay joining fees. Nothing like that. Okay, so immediately this franchise now becomes an investment. It doesn't become a store for you at the end of the day. Okay, so thank you. The next thing I just want to mention to you guys before I hand over to Musa and Lovo, our chairman, is that we actually have a very soft spot for Africa. Okay, I'm an African son. I was born here. My father was born here. My grandfather was born here. I'm an African boy. I believe in humankind was started by God, but I also believe that the first lion was hunted in this continent, and the first elephant was taken down in this continent. Okay, and of course, also the greatest leader of all time was born in this continent. Mr. Tata Madiba was born in Africa. Okay, so why should every single other idea get born, in the US or the Europeans or anything like that? We can do it within Africa. Okay. And the one thing that we're doing on this podium today is to stipulate that we will support SMEs, to take SMEs of South Africa into Africa with a brand that we select. We are still working on a brand. We're literally on finishing stages. I'm actually going to jump the gun a little bit. I'm going to share the name with you today and the origins where it comes from. The brand that we're going to push up into Africa with South African SMEs is called Fanagalo. So, Fanagalo, African-style chicken. Okay, so I think all of you guys know what Fanagalo is. That is a combination of African languages, okay, that came together. Okay, and that's what we're doing. We're going to take African type of recipe on chicken and we're going to bring it together. Okay, but we're going to empower SMEs to push it up into Africa. We're starting off with Zambia. We already have JVs with them in place that we're finalizing at that stage, and then neighboring countries will follow. So please, people, check the space. The franchise co is going to do big things within this year. I'm very excited, about our products that we just launched. If there's any, what queries that you guys might have, please address it to us afterwards, and we will be very happy to, to help you with that. The next speaker that's going to speak with you guys is our chairman of our board, Mr. Musa Ndlovu, and he's going to speak to you guys about a product that, it's not a product, it's an idea that we had, for the last 3 or 4 years, myself and my brother, and it's called Franchising Your Success Mentorship Program. Thank you.